Hi there, welcome to another Tuesdays in the Shop. This is Yvette from Gotham Quilts, and joining me tonight is Jen from Gotham Quilts also.
Hello.
Andrea has the night off, lucky her. So you just get to hang out with me and Jen. And the good news is that Jen and I have a ton of fun together. So you get to join in on our own little. We bicker less than Andrea and I. So if you're like into the bickering, there won't be as much of that in this call.
No
But
promises.
we get along. We have fun together. So what are we talking about this week? We are talking about our next sew along. Um, if you don't know what a sew along is, or a quilt along is the other term, a sew along or a quilt along is a period of time where a bunch of people work on the same thing together and they share it either on social media, or in our case, we have our own community site. So it's like our own private Facebook. So we share updates in there as well as on Instagram and Facebook or whatever. And the next one we're currently running one for the Quota Quiltalon. So Quota was the pattern that we debuted at QuiltCon in February. And Jen, what week are we on for Quota? We're almost done, right?
I wasn't prepared to answer that question.
I think we're on week 5 for Quota. It's almost done.
It's almost done. We have our tops pieced together already. We are taking a week for everybody to catch up and plan their quilting, and then we're going to quilt next. I think it's quilt next week and then bind the week after.
Yeah, so basically we are providing essentially a free online class to learn how to make these patterns that we've designed. So in the case of Quota, which is a machine piece pattern with some applique, we have videos for how to cut, how to pick colors, how to put it together, how to do the applique, how to do the quilting, how to do the binding, right? In the case of the next one to come, which is wool applique, you get to learn how to do wool applique. So which pattern are we doing, Jen?
We are doing Sylvia.
Woohoo! And Sylvia, if you are curious, if you saw us at QuiltCon, you saw this pattern already, and we did like officially debut it, I don't know, a month ago maybe online. And we originally said we were going to do this quilt along for Sylvia starting June 1st, but it turned out that was not possible. So
we do one sew along at a time.
Yeah, we learned that now. So for everyone who had signed up for the June 1st date, we sent an email on June 1st saying, sorry, we're starting July 1st, it said, because we are not ready. So today we're going to tell you all about how that sew along is going to work and what you're going to learn. Jen generally leads the sew along, so I will let her talk a bit.
All right, I am going to pull up my little chart. We're planning for Sylvia to last for 6 weeks. We're going to start in week 1 with a welcome. We're going to go over the pattern and talk about what's inside and what wools to use and how, get everybody ready to gather their supplies. So, by the end of week 1, you should be, stuff should be on its way to you. Week 2, we're going to talk about preparing our background and cutting out our wool pieces, and we're going to do the cutting. Week 3, we're going to actually do the wool applique stitches, which is a whip stitch. Very easy, very forgiving, and I will be able to show you how to do it.
And also, this wool is felted, so you don't have to turn over your edge. You don't have to fuse. It doesn't unravel. It's really awesome.
Yeah, it's so pretty. This one, actually, I've taken this apart a couple of times. This one is all different colors. This one is just blues. They're so pretty. So there's that. I like how they sound too. I don't know what's wrong with me. Let's see. So that was week 3 was applique. Week 4, we're going to talk about embroidery, and I'm going to take you through a couple of decorative stitches. The pattern actually has each little squircle is done differently with different embroidery stitches that go along with Sue Spargo's Creative Hand Stitching book. And it is optional. You can get this book and do it exactly like I did it, or you can do it very simply, or you can do it not at all. It's entirely up to you.
Yeah, use your favorite embroidery stitches if you have such a thing.
Right. And if you don't want to, it looks great as just applique too. Week 5.
You could leave the embroidery entirely off. You could just do like a running stitch.
Right.
You could do nothing but
the blue one, all different running stitches.
Going to be running stitches. Yeah, I was thinking it'd be cool to do all French knots, like in different. She's making that face because she does not like doing French.
I don't like the French knots. I like the colonial knots.
That's a good tip. So for all of you watching who hate French knots, which is not a small percentage of people, look up a colonial knot. It's a slightly different, it looks slightly different in the end, but it's close enough and it's definitely a lot easier.
It is way easier and it is a sure thing.
Yep.
It makes a knot every time.
Right. The thing I like about the idea of either French knots or colonial knots is that the shape is this kind of squircle shape, and then it's like more dots on top of it. I think that could be cool as a design.
Oh, absolutely. I think it would be cool for you to do.
For me to do, I got that.
Week 5 is quilting, and then week 6 we have show and tell week, and we'll have some giveaways during the event. I'm not a fantastic giveaway runner. I have to put that into my calendar this time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what we're going to do. And it's going to be super fun. I do enjoy our community that we've got going. Everybody shares what they're doing and we talk and we encourage each other. And it's just such a nice, friendly place.
Yeah. And you can post pictures of what you're doing. You can ask questions. You can ask for feedback. And everyone's just so friendly and helpful.
Yeah. So we designed Sylvia to be a kind of a monochromatic adventure. It made it a little bit easier for us to I don't know, to kind of explore the thing. Like you can get the little set of wool. And so the pattern comes with, requires 4, the pattern was written for 4 colors. You can do whatever you want.
Sure.
But when you buy one of these packs, if you were to say, get the blue one, I think what my mom did here was she just picked 4 of the packs. So it's a fat 32nd, which in wool has nothing to do with cotton yardage sizes.
Right.
Because the yardage is different.
Because why should anything be simple, right?
It could be more difficult. I'm sure there would be a way, but so this is a 9-inch by 7-inch piece, and you need 4 of these. So when you get the packet that we have online, you get 6. You can choose which colors you want. You can use just some. You can just use 4, or you can use a little bit of all 6 and have more left over.
And you don't even have to do an ombre like we did. We did like light, medium, dark, darker.
Yeah.
If you wanted to mix like red and pink and yellow like that, it's your quilt, right? You get to do whatever you want. And it's a wall hanging size, so you can get away with like some wacky choices because you're going to hang it on your wall, right? It doesn't have to please everybody.
We have this bundle called Nature.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I'm going to use this for my next one because I just love this one. This is the only one she has that's not monochromatic, right?
Yeah, and I don't really get that. So we buy Sue Spargo's packs. These things are called Sue Spargo wool, whatever packs, and they come in a 32 fat 32 size, or they come in a fat 64th size. The 64th is half the size of the 32nd. And most of this is my dog barking at who knows what.
Hey, Bella.
Hi, Bella. Sorry. So most of the packs that she offers are monochromatic in like a color range. So it's like shades of orange or shades of blue, like the one that Jen just showed. But for some reason, there's one that is a mix of colors, and it's called Nature, and it's the one she's holding up here. She actually used to have others that were mixes, but she retired all of those other ones.
Oh, okay. You could do 2 different fat 64s. Like if you can't decide between pink and yellow, you could get both, or get 2 little ones, the half, and do the whole same thing. So,
or you could just use whatever your random wool that you have at home is, because you don't really need that much of each color. So you might even have enough at home, because you could do more than 4 colors, right? If you just found like, I don't know, charm packs at home of various colors, you could make it work.
Right. Or if you tried a different pattern, you probably have leftovers. So, and the wool is so precious, I can't throw it out.
I know. It feels so good in your hands. If you've never done wool applique before, it's entirely done by hand. And we like, when Jen and I are working on ours, we kind of like to pick a background fabric that also has a nice texture to it. You don't have to stitch onto wool. That's a common misconception about wool applique, is that the base fabric also has to be wool. In general, most people do not stitch onto wool, mainly because wool is way more expensive than other fibers. So most of the time you're stitching onto like a cotton flannel or a linen cotton blend, right? In the case of our white Sylvia sample that's behind Jen, we stitched onto a Kona sheen. So that is 100% cotton, but it has this like shiny layer on top of it. And we do have some Kona sheen in stock if you want to do Kona sheen for your background. What's cool about it is that you get the contrast of the like really earthy um, natural wool with this shiny surprise background. Yeah, she's turning on her light so you can see that it's like it's got this iridescent sheen. It's not a metallic, like it's not shiny like gold. It's
like they sprayed a glitter paint on it or something.
yeah, kind of. It's iridescent is the right word. So it
Yeah, you
has
can't
a
really
sheen
see it.
to it. It's very hard to show shine on the internet.
Look
But
there, you
actually,
can see it.
yeah, and what with you holding it up that close, you can see that Jen also did free motion quilting around the squircles. And we should probably back up because I bet most people have never heard the word squircle before.
Oh yeah.
The first time I heard it, it was Carolyn Friedlander. She had some project and you made squircles. A squircle is a square with the edges rounded. So it's like a mix between a circle and a square. Squircle. And one of the reasons that we picked this as our first wool applique, my internet says it just went out. Can you still hear me, Jen?
You're still here. I still hear you.
So one of the reasons we picked Sylvia as our first wool applique sew along is because it's very approachable for a beginner, mainly because those shapes do not have to be perfect. If you've ever done applique before and you were so nervous transferring the template over and then cutting it and making sure you cut on the line and not outside the line because they have to line up, blah, blah, blah. None of that's true for this one.
Right. And if you are an anxious person, there is a template in the pattern. It is a suggestion.
If you want to do that, but you don't have to.
It's way easier to just cut the squares, cut the corners off, and do it. I think the hardest thing for me was that like I would cut one and I'd be like, oh, that one's a little bit off, and then I'd start trimming, but then I just stopped because there's so many you can't tell.
Yeah, and the variety between them makes the finished piece more interesting. If they're all exactly the same, it starts to look like a computer did it. And why are we making stuff by hand if we want it to look like a computer did it, right? Like computers can do stuff. Get the computer to do the computer thing and do the handwork, the natural, the slow stitching, the like meditation.
Yeah,
you know,
we're going to lean into the organic nature of the materials we're working with.
So Kathy is saying that Sylvia seems approachable to her. She's never done any handwork before, and she's going to join us for the Sylvia sew along.
Yay!
So yay! Thank you, Kathy. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so we covered that we're going to be teaching the wool applique technique itself, and then some embroidery stuff, right? Are we going to teach all those embroidery stitches? Probably not, right?
I don't think so. I might go over a couple if people are really interested in anything specific, but I teach all of that stuff in a whole year-long course.
So for those of you who've been watching us a while, Jen teaches a creative hand stitching journey, which actually works with the same Sue Spargo book and goes for a year, working on different kinds of stitches all year long. And you end up with a sample book, like a stitch sample book. And the current session is the January to December section, but we're going to announce a new one soon. So if you do this Sylvia sew along and you find out that you love the embroidery, you could sign up for the next creative hand stitching journey.
Which maybe is more convenient start than January. We'll see.
Yeah, it will be sooner than January. We just haven't announced that yet. That's a future email and whatever.
There's some back end work.
So we're teaching wool applique. We're teaching some of the embellishment embroidery. Are we going to teach some quilting stuff too, since it is quilted?
So yeah. So for quota, we're just doing straight line
it's
quilting.
Not quota. It's
no,
Sylvia.
I know. In quota, okay. I'm just teaching some
in the current
straight line. Right, the current one. And in Sylvia, I'm going to teach some free motion. It's really simple and forgiving. We're not gonna do feathers. I am a retired featherer.
Also, it doesn't go. Like this is a very modern graphic thing. Like you're not gonna want to put feathers on it, right?
No. But just like the squircles are a little sloppy and improv-y, the quilting is a little sloppy and improv-y. And the way that
I
you
don't
make
think sloppy is a good word. We should not tell people that it's sloppy. Just
the
like
way that you
it's
make it
organic.
good is you keep adding layers, and they're all imperfect, and the more layers that you add, the better it is.
Yeah,
It's really fun.
exactly. And you're going for an imperfect result, an
Right.
organic result, right? So how Jen quilted the white sample, the original one, is she just did free motion like around each of the squares. But the blue one that her mom made that's behind her doesn't have any quilting yet. It's just the piece top. So I
Right.
assume you're going to quilt that one differently, right? Or are you going to do the
Yes.
same?
My mom got to the embroidery part and looked at the instructions, and she said, "I'm done. This is yours now."
She has a
So-
tendency to be like, "Oh yeah, I'll make that," and then only do the part she's interested in, and
Right.
then just hand it back. To
If I told her she could do a different Sashiko pattern on each one, she'd be there. I do have embroidery diagrams.
Nice.
And if anybody's taken classes with me, you know that I'm wildly proud of my illustration abilities. I can make magic with fabric and thread all day long, but to make a diagram that looks like what I want to is a miracle.
And for everyone watching, owning a business is kind of having to do everything, right? Like we don't have the money to hire someone to make our Illustrator files. We don't have money to, so we have to learn all of it. We learn how to do the streaming. We learn how to do Illustrator. We learn, So that's why sometimes things don't go according to plan or according to schedule, is because we're all learning as we go. Like until whenever we started doing Tuesdays Live, we've never done streaming before, right? Until COVID hit, we'd really never done virtual programming at all. So there's always something new to learn. And Jen is very proud of her Illustrator skills that she has learned in the last couple of years.
And my video editing. Oh my
Yes, video editing. Yes. Yeah, because it's really hard to do a video in one take. For anyone who's never tried that before, if you have to just record it from start to end without stopping, it's very difficult. So that's what video editing comes in case you say like 18 times or whatever, you can cut that out.
Oh, mine stay.
You leave your ums in?
I do, because you get 2 takes. 2 takes.
You mean you're willing to do 2 takes?
Right. By editing, I mean cutting off the part where I'm looking and scowling at the screen and trying to find
and trying to figure out the button. Yeah. Yep. I often will cut out curse words because in my day-to-day life, I kind of curse a lot. My background is software development. It's all guys. Like that's normal here in New York. Like everyone's favorite word is the F word here, right? Like we use it to mean lots of different things. So a lot of times when I'm editing for Gotham, I'll cut out the curses. it's like,
I don't like how skippy it looks when I do that. So what I do is I just go into the track and I mute that bit.
Oh, that's a good trick.
I
didn't even know about that trick. Thank you.
Or you can go in and clip it and then just cut out that part of the track. Yeah.
And by the way, this segue is actually relevant to the Sylvia Sew Along because Jen's going to make a bunch of videos for Sylvia Sew Along. And they will be available for you to watch whenever you want. It's not like you have to be live in a Zoom meeting. You don't have to worry about your schedule. There's a week for each step, right? So that gives you enough time to do the work. And if you can't keep up with the schedule, it's fine. There's no pressure. There's no grading,
Yeah. I'll set up some live sessions. I probably won't do one for the first weekend because that's the 4th of July weekend.
4th of July, yeah.
And I have plans, and I'm sure everybody else does too.
I hope people have plans, especially because it falls on a Thursday this year. I hope people got Friday off too, and can make a long weekend out of it.
Yeah, so we'll have a couple of live sessions for Q&A, and it's not me teaching anything; it's just answering questions. So
perfect. Yeah, and ask us any question you have. You can put it in the comment. You can send us an email. It's info@gothamquilts.com if you want to email us, because if you're thinking of a question, probably somebody else is thinking of that same question. And we are presenting the thing. So we already understand the thing. We don't have those questions. So we need your help when it comes to anything we're being unclear about. Speaking of that, I'm going to put a QR code up so you can sign up for the sew along on the screen. So if you scan this QR code on your phone, it will open a page that explains the schedule and when it starts and that kind of thing. And at the bottom, there's an email sign up field. When you submit your email there, you are signed up to our email list, but you're also tagged as somebody who wants to do this sew along, so that on July 1st, when we launch, we will send you an email with access to the sew along in our community site and all the information that you'll need to know at that point. So that's the QR code there to sign up for the sew along part. If you just want to buy the pattern first, or maybe you just want to buy the pattern and not do the sew along, that's totally allowed too. This is the QR code just to buy the pattern. We sell the pattern as a print pattern, but it's part of our Threadsome brand. So if you haven't been watching us that long, you may not know that we launched essentially a side business, which is called Threadsome Patterns, and we are designing modern takes on traditional handwork techniques. And basically we did this because we wanted to stock these things at Gotham Quilts. We couldn't find anybody who was designing wool applique in a modern way, because I love doing wool applique. Jen loves doing wool applique, but on the market in general, like if you Google wool applique, you get a lot of like chickens and cows and plaid and brown. And it's not the aesthetic.
Or it's very primitive. Like it seems like that's pretty much it.
Yep. Or lots of Christmas stuff. There's so much Christmas stuff done in wool.
There is.
And I guess that's because it's winter.
Christmas for us, probably.
Yeah. So when we were looking for patterns to stock in Gotham Quilts, the store, and we couldn't find any modern ones, and some of the Sue Spargo ones are a little bit more modern now, but there's not that many options. So I had actually reached out to people in the industry and was like, where are you buying your modern wool applique from? And everyone's like, there isn't any, please start designing it yourself. So that's what we've been doing for the last year or so. And we launched this brand called Threadsome Patterns. It's threadsomepatterns.com if you want to look at it. And on the Threadsome side, you can buy PDF instant downloads of these patterns. But if you're shopping at the Gotham Quilt side, you would get a paper printed copy. And we're going to be wholesaling to other stores too. So if you feel like your local quilt shop should be carrying Threadsome, go ahead and tell them about Threadsome. We would appreciate it. We would love to get some wholesale accounts. We haven't really started the push to get those yet, but we're ready. It's all set up. They can put in an application and everything.
Excellent.
So if you scan this QR code, it takes you to our website where you can order the Sylvia pattern. It also has a link to the Threadsome side if you would rather get the pattern as a PDF. Some people really do prefer a PDF so that they can print multiple copies. They can make like notations and then other people really prefer a print pattern. I get it. This is why we're doing both options.
Yeah. And if you've already purchased the Lorelei pattern and you go to the website sometime tonight or tomorrow, it will look a little different because we changed out the cover.
Do you have the original one handy? Not really.
Yes. But I have to go get it from the other room.
Okay. So what she's talking about is the very first Threadsome pattern that we released is called Lorelei. And by the way, the names of the patterns are all sort of like old-timey women's names. So we have a whole spreadsheet of names coming up in the future, and they're all alliterative. Man, that's a hard word to say out loud. So my dog is like really, she is very riled up about nothing right now. There's nothing even happening. Relax. So this was the pattern, if Jen can find the camera. The original cover for the pattern was showing the throw size quilt. So this is a modern take on a Lone Star quilt, but it's done with wool applique. So instead of you piecing those diamonds together, you are going to applique those diamonds onto the background and leave a space in between to make that shape show up. I love this idea for this variation on a Lone Star because a Lone Star also is a very typical design, and we've zhuzhed it up to be more modern. But what we found at QuiltCon, we had the sample, the throw size sample, and we had the pattern this way, which is how we originally released it. What we found is people thought it was too difficult. This image that Jen is showing right now, I think most people's reaction when they see that and they think hand applique is, oh, hell no, right? So
it's terrifying.
What did you say?
It's terrifying.
So I think it's beautiful, but I also kind of don't want to make it myself. So I get it. But the pattern has actually, is it 4 sizes or 5 sizes in it?
4 sizes.
4 sizes in it. And we've reprinted the pattern with the pillow size on the cover, which is a much more approachable project. Like, I think it's less than a quarter of the diamonds are in the pillow as in
Oh yeah.
the full size. So
It's
this is the new pattern cover that will come. And if your local quilt shop wants to order it, this is the cover that will be on the pattern when the print pattern is. Oh my God, one of the babies is screaming.
Yvette lives in a little tiny zoo in New York City.
So if you haven't kept up with my fostering puppies story, this is the little baby who's been sick, and so she's way smaller than everybody else. And she seems to have found her voice, and her voice is like, like, anyway. So what was I talking about? Oh, thread sewn. So Sylvia is one of the thread sewn patterns, and at QuiltCon it was the most popular when we sold the most of this one. So that's one we're doing next for our next sew along. I'll put the sew along image back up. I'm sorry, QR code back up. So if you are on the fence about signing up, if you sign up with this QR code, you are not under any obligation. This just puts you on a list to be notified when we do launch. And then if July 1st comes and you decide you don't care, that's fine. No pressure whatsoever.
Right.
So
and if
you might want to do it.
If you start and you decide you don't like it, that's okay too. You can tell us or you cannot. It's fine.
Yeah.
Try it and see how you feel about it. There's no pressure. I get people. I have somebody who's signed up for the quota sew along in my house who has been giving
house
many excuses for why she hasn't done her stuff.
And your mom's plan was to make 4 quotas and put them together, wasn't it? Yeah.
She keeps explaining to me why she hasn't done it. It's like, it's okay. I don't care.
Like, you're not keeping track. Yeah, exactly. So if you think you might want to join us, go ahead and sign up in the QR code. I will also send an email out later this week to tell everybody in the mailing list about this. If you have questions about the sew along, please post them in the chat and we will answer them as soon as we can. Real quick, we also wanted to talk about tomorrow is the first Wednesday of the month. So what does that mean? It means it's Thread Talk night. And tomorrow night is Karen Boland. And Jen, you want to tell us what Karen's going to be talking about?
Hang on just a second while I look it up.
So if you scan this QR code, it takes you to the sign up page for this Thread Talk.
All right. I know that I was really excited about it when I booked it 6 months ago.
Look what your mom just said in chat.
I know that we're mocking her.
We love you.
I love my mom. She knows.
We love you, Nancy.
But during the sew alongs, I'm here for you. You're not here for me. It's more fun for me if there's a lot of you out there because it's a little bit more activity and it's not just me screaming into the void, but I'm here for you. So Karen's workshop tomorrow. No, it's not a workshop. It is a lecture based on a workshop. She doesn't have it written up as a lecture. It's called Special Effects with Color. She's going to talk about creating color illusions and tricking the eye with transparency and illusions. I've heard from somebody who went to the lecture the first time that Karen taught it, and Lissa said that it was awesome. So I'm really, really excited. I can't get enough of color education. Everything that I learn, it makes me better, and I love that I get to fill up the stuff that I want to know.
Transparency, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about when we say transparency, you can Google it. Like if you Google transparency quilts, it's a sort of a modern concept. Although if you think about old-fashioned tumbling block quilts, they tended to do the same thing. It's the idea that you take a color and then you take another color and piece it together and take another color and piece it together and make it look like these two colors are going behind the other color. So maybe this one is yellow and this one is orange and this one is red, right? So like yellow and red mix become orange. And it is not as easy as you might think. Like I just said, yellow and red become orange. That's pretty straightforward. But when you're actually picking the fabrics and you're holding them up to each other, it's pretty hard to figure out which one will give you the effect you're looking for. And that's what we're going to learn tomorrow with Karen.
Yeah. My mother made a good point. Quota has some really effective transparency in the Kandinsky version, which is in the trunk of my car because I had it with me this weekend. And I was away, but sometimes you do it and it's incredibly effective, and sometimes it's kind of flat. And I'm hoping that Karen can tell us, like, she's
Yeah.
got information on additive and subtractive color theory and how
Yep.
your eyeballs work. So I'm really excited.
And we found that our customers generally really want to learn about color and color theory and how colors work together, how to pick a palette for a project, how to like build your confidence when you choose colors. Because we believe, I think all three of us believe that everyone does have some internal color instinct, right? But we're trained to not be very confident about those things. We're trained to say, like, oh, I didn't go to school for this. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not creative or whatever it is. So the more of these courses you can take, the more you build that confidence, because how do you build confidence in something is you do it, right? So if you generally work from kits and you're not picking out your fabrics, if you want to branch into that slightly, then this talk is a really good talk to start learning about color. And
Yeah.
color effects is what she's calling it.
Yeah, she's really. I'm really excited about this, and I've
Have
taken
you seen a lecture with her before?
no, but I've taken classes with her.
Oh, okay.
Took a long term one with Irene Roderick, and I watched because we did a lot of critique and discussing our process, and I know how thoughtful Karen is. So like I've seen inside of her head while she works through engineering issues. So I'm really excited to learn from her too.
Cool. Yeah, I haven't taken a class or seen a lecture with her, but so I'm excited for tomorrow night. For those of you who have not memorized all of our information, Thread Talks is always the first Wednesday of every month, and it's at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. The lectures last about an hour or like 45 minutes with a question and answer session at the end. And they are given live on Zoom. So that means that you do have to attend at 8 p.m. They are not recorded for later. So you do have to watch live at 8 p.m. tomorrow night. So if you're free tomorrow night, we'd love to have you join us.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, and you don't have to participate. And in a matter of fact, you can't participate. You can just watch and listen.
Right. So it's not like a Zoom where everyone's on camera and talking. It's a lecture, right? So only the speaker can speak, only the speaker can share their screen, and all the attendees can use the chat. So it's kind of like watching this stream, right? Like we're on video, we can talk. My dog will continue to bark, apparently. And you all can communicate with us by posting in the chat. Do we have any other housekeeping we meant to mention in this video? I don't remember.
I didn't write any other notes down. I thought Thread Talks was it.
Yes, I knew to talk about Thread Talks because it's tomorrow. So seriously, your last chance to sign up. But let me pull up my calendar to remind myself if there was something else I was supposed to mention tonight. No,
Are we going to
I think that was it.
Are we going to talk about what do we tease what we're going to talk about next time?
Oh, we can. Should we do that?
Do you want me to like flash it?
Like, let me take down the QR code. So we can each flash. Well, you have both, right? Because I only have one. What? So
we're not obsessed with color.
Yeah, we just had a whole spiel about color, right? We generally end these talks or these live videos by saying, we'll be back next week, but we have no idea what we're going to talk about. This time we do know what we're talking about next week.
We're adulting.
We're trying to plan things ahead of time. It doesn't always work. So next week, we're going to give this Tuesday live at the same time, same bat channel. And we're going to be talking about color tools is what we're calling this. We're going to show you these things that Jen and I received that make picking colors easier and help you understand how colors relate to each other and shades and tones and all those terms that everyone is kind of threatened by. This stuff makes that easier and more approachable. And we're pretty excited.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll see you next week. And we would love you to join the Sylvia Sew Along. Oh my God, Bella, relax.
That's okay, because CJ's over here very quietly being good girl, going through my trash and shredding it.
I guess I should be giving Bella trash. The
It's
thing
not
is, I can't
working.
hear anything. She usually does that if she hears noise in the hallway or whatever. I don't hear anything from my office. So she's right behind me and she's barking at nothing that I can tell. Somebody put a comment in. Oh, Dana just joined and she said she's a little late, so she needs to rewatch from the beginning.
Yay!
Oh, and that the cubes that we showed look like colorful fun. They sure are.
They are.
So
I can't
sure
wait
to
to
come
start
next week.
making some trouble with those.
Yeah. All right. I think if no one has any more questions, actually, no one asked us any questions about the Sylvia Sew Along.
No, it's because we're just expert at explaining what we're doing.
I was about to say, was that because we did a really good job or a really bad job?
We just confused everybody.
And they're like, I don't even know where to start. Reminder that you can email us anytime. It's info@gothamquilts.com and we'll get right back to you. If your instinct is to send us like an Instagram message or a Facebook message, please don't do that. Please send us an email. We will get back to an email right away, and I might not see a Facebook message for days. So just so you know.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're done, and we'll be back next week with some color tools. Oh, some other dog barked. It's your dog?
That's CJ. CJ would like a cookie.
CJ's bark is more high pitched than Bella's.
Yeah. Diane said she was puzzled about thread and needles.
Puzzled about thread. Oh, for Sylvia, Diane? I assume she means for Sylvia.
Yeah. That I will discuss that during the sew along very clearly. It honestly, the answer is it depends on what threads you decided to use.
Right.
And there's some different philosophies on which kind of threads are the right threads for wool applique.
We'll get into that too, for sure.
I'm really anti-gatekeeping, so
Right.
I have some strong feelings on that.
And if you look at the Sylvia pattern on our website, the requirements for how to make it, you know how when you get a paper pattern, the back tells you how much fabric you need and what tools and whatever. So we have listed the tools that you need. So like a hand applique needle, you're going to need for the applique, right? An embroidery needle, you're going to need for the embroidery. What threads you use for the applique or what threads you use for the embroidery really are up to you. But in the sew along, we're going to talk a lot about the different choices and the effects that they make. And
yeah. And the kind of thread you use dictates what needle you use.
Right. And if you didn't know, everyone watching, the size of the thread goes with the size of the needle. And then the type of fabric you're with goes, or the technique that you're doing goes with the type of needle. So like on a sewing machine, if you're using a jersey needles, because you're stitching jersey fabric, but jersey needles come in various sizes. So if you're stitching a thick fabric, you need a thicker needle to go with. Sorry, not fabric, thread. If your thread is bigger, your needle needs to be bigger because otherwise it's not going to fit in that little eye, right? So that's how those things correlate.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody who came. We had fun as always. Jen and I can have fun, in a paper bag. Is that a saying or did I just confuse two sayings? I think I confused two sayings.
I understood, but I'm not sure where that's coming from.
It's like my idioms get all mixed up in my head between all the different languages and everything. And then I hear myself say it and I'm like,
it's charming. It's very American. We all do that.
Yeah. And like half the time it turns out it's an idiom in a different language and I just translate it to English without realizing it. Anyway, so we'll be back next week at the same time in the same place. So if you're watching us on Facebook, we'll be back on Facebook. If you're watching us on Instagram, YouTube, we'll be back on YouTube. For those of you who saw that for a couple of weeks, I was broadcasting on Instagram and I stopped. That's because Instagram makes it very difficult to go live from a system like the one we're using to stream into two locations at the same time. And I did it a couple of times. No one watched us on Instagram, so I just stopped.
I think it's because it just gives the middle of the screen. So it would have gotten your shoulder and my shoulder.
No, it was like this horizontal thing with like black bars at the top.
Oh, really? On mine, it sliced it so that it was just the middle of the screen.
Oh,
it was even worse.
Way, if you want to fix it.
Doesn't matter. No.
Oh, Diane says, love your humor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. I often think I sound ridiculous, but if it's amusing for you guys, it works for me. All right. Thanks for joining us. We will be back next week and have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.